Welcome to our September 19th, 2019 school committee meeting. This is our first official meeting of the 2019-2020 school year. Kriti, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a consent agenda with the minutes from June 6, 2019 and oath to bills to and payroll.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Motion passes. This is the first part of the first section in the school committee meeting when we open it up to interested citizens. Are there any interested citizens here who'd like to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to recognition.
Did you check all the way in the back?
I know. Way back. Yeah. So, first order of business on the recognition is Superintendent Clenchey will introduce us to interim principal Jason Everhart. Tell us a little bit about Jason.
Yeah. What I wanted to do here is we had already sent letters home to the school communities, but I thought it was important just to mention a few of the administrative changes, more correctly, that we had this summer. And we've appointed Jason Everhart as the interim middle school principal. As we all know, Jason was the assistant principal before this, and we're excited to have Jason in this position. And he's been in it for a few weeks now. We started this summer, and he's done a wonderful job. School's running well, and staff's happy, kids are happy, so Jason's off to a very good start. And in the meantime, we had to find a replacement for Jason as an assistant principal, so we recently appointed Beth Morgan as the interim middle school assistant principal. Beth has been a history teacher, grade 8 history teacher with us for a number of years. And excuse me, we're excited to help groom her for that role, so to speak. And with those two changes, we've appointed Mrs. Temple as the interim Russell Street principal. And Mrs. Temple has been the principal of the middle school for 3 years. Prior to that, she was the assistant principal of the high school for a number of years, and we lost her for a year. And she came back to join us again as that middle school principal. So as a superintendent, I'm thrilled with these changes, and we've had a wonderful start to the new school year. We've also had a transportation supervisor change as well. We have a new transportation supervisor, and she's done a wonderful job. Everybody's been transported where they need to go to and from school. Can't ask for more than that. During the startup, as we all know, our custodians are very busy trying to get our schools ready for the start of the new school year. Our schools are used a lot during the summertime, so it's really difficult for them to find that needed time to strip the floors and re-wax them and do repairs and painting. Every year they come through, and our schools, our plants look great, our floors are shining. It's almost like looking in the mirror as you're walking down the halls. And our technology team, we have a lot of computers in our district, and they all need to be re-imaged, and our networks always need work, and we started the year again without a glitch in terms of technology. And we use a lot of bandwidth today in each of our schools, and it's nice to know that we have a network structure that can handle that. Our welcome back breakfast was another great opportunity to welcome staff back. We changed it up a little bit this year. Rather than having an opportunity to talk to them about a number of topics, we did an introduction, and then we split them up into roundtable groups, and they worked on developing strategies to enhance the acquisition of SEL core competencies within their classrooms. All of these strategies are documented on a Google Doc, and they will be presenting their various strategies at the school-based staff meetings this year. And one other item I'd like to talk about. The town for the last 3 years has applied for a Green Communities grant. And we're always part of the process, and we help them with the application form. This year, the town was awarded $239,000. And all of that money is going to help increase energy efficiency in our schools this year. So very proud of that and also very thankful of that. And the items were on the screen for a millisecond. And we're now have a picture of Steve Mark and our energy manager, Dave Riley, and the town's executive assistant, Diane Dickerson, receiving the awards last week. And so it was nice to send them on behalf of the school district, and it was a nice celebration. Back to the document that was on the screen before, you can see the breakdown of the projects. All of those are designed to save energy in various schools. We're doing a lot of LED lighting this year, and you can see some other projects, weatherization projects to save energy, capacitors, and I really don't know what RTU controllers are. I was just trying to think about that, and I do not know.
Rooftop units.
Rooftop units. Thank you,
For
Darryl.
the AC.
Well, that's easy.
They help control the motor speed and when they run, how often they run, and et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, okay. Excellent. That will certainly save some energy as well.
Yep.
And that brings me to the end of my report.
Are you going to send that, but that wasn't in the packet, was it?
What's that?
That list?
No. I can
Could you send that?
email it to
Yeah, we
everybody.
did that.
That'd be
Sure.
great.
Yeah.
All right. Priti is here to give her student representative report.
Hello, everyone. Maddie and I are super excited to start again this year at these meetings. And to start off, Shaker Lane had a great start to the school year. They want to thank the PTA for decorating their walkway with inspirational messages for the first day of school, and for the generous donation of fruit and sweet treats for the staff's opening day. Shaker Lane looks forward to their first community meeting next Wednesday, and they kick off their first all-school meeting with a definition of HEART, the acronym, and begin their first compassion project, which entails showing heart across the world. So at Russell Street, they have a new mascot. His name is Stripes, and students are currently learning about new initiatives to include a program where you can earn your stripes. That's pretty cool. And the middle school's back to school night was this past Monday and was very well attended. The first 6th grade Kids Night Out is next Friday, September 27th, and Neshoba Tech will be presenting to interested 8th graders about their high school programs this year. And at the high school, the homecoming football game is on October 4th, and Spirit Week is leading up to that game on the week before, and the homecoming dance is on October 5th. So, thank you.
Grady, could you tell us a little bit about the restroom project?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so
It is amazing.
yeah, there's a girl in our grade. Her name is Abby Myers. She's amazing. She does a lot of like calligraphy work for weddings, for restaurants, and things like that. And she had the wonderful idea of painting inspirational quotes on the girls' bathrooms, which I know is already like at the middle school. So it was just fitting to bring it to the high school. And she asked a couple of us to help her out. And in the summertime, I think it was a Saturday, a Friday, a Thursday, just like 3 days consecutively. And we got to paint all the bathroom stalls. So that was like really, really fun.
Oh.
Yeah.
They look great.
Yeah.
Awesome. We do have a presentation on the grade 8 field trip to Monadnock, New Hampshire, scheduled for October 11, 2019.
Thank you. I won't read the document as it's written. I'll just highlight some of the features of this trip. Having been on similar trips to Monadnock as a teacher several years ago in another district, we would often go up a different side, and because of the incline and because of the rigor of the hike, a number of students were never able to make it up. And Monadnock offers an experience where every student is able to make it to the top and be able to do the work of science that it's set out to do. And so it's truly an all-inclusive trip. One of the things that will happen is a hawk count, where students will begin to tally the movement of hawks as they begin their migration south. They'll be working with the Audubon Society to learn more about their habitat, their migration, writing thermals, and all of that content comes back to the classroom, where it really becomes a theme for much of the biological and anatomy work that they'll do in 8th grade science for the rest of the year. So with its inclusivity, combined with its teamwork, with an opportunity for students to get to know their teachers on a deeper level and chaperones, there's really an unlimited number of reasons why this trip is really a wonderful experience for our 8th grade students, and we ask that you approve this so that they continue that tradition.
Any discussion on the field trip? Accept the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the 8th grade field trip to Packman-on-Mac on Friday, October 11th.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Have a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
We need to bring a revised field trip policy in terms of out-of-district trips. I've been talking to Mike Lynn for months, and we keep exchanging suggestions, and then one night it just dawned on me, instead of looking at mileage in terms of radius, why don't we just simply say that if it's an out-of-state day trip,
Right.
it's approved by the principal, nice and simple, rather than trying to tag mileage to it. So I will bring that next meeting for a first reading. Unless you would like a radius, I think it makes sense though, just to, if it's a day trip, they're going to return.
I like the way you think.
Yep, no, that's fine.
Good. Thank you.
Hey, moving on to new business. Dr. Clench will give us a personnel update for the 2019-2020 school year.
It was a busy summer with some personnel changes, and you can see in your package we've had a number of changes. We tried to put it in a format that was easily understandable. New hires, transfers, resigned, retired. So we have some of the people that were brought on to replace staff that are on long-term leave, other staff that have left. The only additional staff member that we have is the one that we talked about during our retreat this summer, where our grade 6 class ballooned a little more than we thought, and we've added a grade 6 specialist teacher. So that's the only addition of staff into that list.
I'm actually going to go back, as I missed our old business, so highlights from the summer retreat.
We're versatile here.
Yes. So, Dr. Clench and
Sure.
Darryl would like to highlight the, I would, but I wasn't there.
There were a number of things that we were able to discuss. I had an enjoyable evening. It was nice to get together and just talk and discuss, and especially spend the evening talking about education and our district and what kinds of things we can continue to do to move forward, and also celebrate what we've done. Well, some of the topics we looked at, first of all, was an article on the 13 values of Americans that they live by. That generated some great discussion, and then we talked about how does that apply to our school district and our clientele. So certainly a discussion I think we all enjoyed. I know I did. Then we had a discussion on neurodiversity, and we showed a video of Cody Lee, America's Got Talent, and spent some time talking about the importance of identifying strengths in all of our students. And when we design IEPs, the purpose of an IEP is to spell out areas of need for students and come up with strategies to take care of those needs. We do talk about strengths, but one of the points that I emphasize, and I emphasize with the leadership team, is we need to make sure we spend sufficient time talking about student strengths. Every student has a strength or strengths and gifts. And when we're designing IEPs and focusing on those strategies, if we're not careful, we forget about spending enough time on talking about the positives. So it was a great opportunity to talk about this with the school committee and also to reemphasize it with the leadership team. We actually then looked at an article, Emerging Trends in K-12 Education. Really enjoyed that article because it takes a look at various areas, 7 areas to be exact: digital responsibility, computational thinking, collaborative classrooms, innovative pedagogy, life skills and workforce preparation, student-led learning, and connecting guardians in schools. Well, a little bit of what we're talking about at the high school. I'm anxious for the high school to come up with their own unique model of the portrait of a graduate, and that will certainly not only help in the high school's mission, but it'll also have an effect on the rest of our schools, because in the end, we're all working together, pre-K through 12, to make sure that our students are well prepared for their future journey. So some interesting things. We're doing a lot of them, and it's interesting if I just focus on collaborative classrooms and designing classrooms with flexible seating. It's amazing what flexible seating actually can do to help raise student achievement. It was nice to have some opportunity to talk about that with the school committee. As we all know, Shaker Lane is aging, so for lack of a better word, and we've kept it in great shape, but there's going to come a point in time where we're going to have to really start thinking about what are we going to do to upgrade the school. And the big question is down the road, are we going to renovate it or build something new? So we had some initial discussions, and from those discussions we decided that we're going to ask somebody from the Massachusetts building branch to come out and meet with Mike Font, myself, and Steve Mark, and just have a general discussion about process, etc. And we're also hoping that we can get some of them, one of them, two of them, to go through Shaker Lane and give us some recommendations in terms of what would be the best thing to do down the road, to build a new school or virtually gut the school and just keep the structure and build from within. So looking forward to having those discussions, and then the school committee after that will have an opportunity to make some decisions as to when they want to start formalizing the process. We also brought up again school start times. That's something that's really never left our discussion around this table, so we continue those discussions, and still trying to think of ways to figure out how to change or have later start times in middle school and high school without having a significant financial impact on the district. So we're still going to be plugging away at that and looking for some solutions as we move forward. Another topic we looked at was discussing student academic and social pressures. Last year we spent some time in the middle school and high school, and one of the most prevalent things that came out of our focus group discussions was the fact that our students do feel a significant degree of academic stress. We need to continue to work together to find ways to alleviate that stress as much as possible. There will be some stress in school and in life, but we certainly don't want it to be excessive. And some of the strategies will not just be figuring out ways to reduce it, but also helping students learn or develop ways of coping with stress in a healthy manner. So we're looking to, again, do some focus groups after the two schools implement some strategies. As I've said before at this table, I was so impressed with the conversations that we had with the students. Actually, Crete was in one of the groups, I remember, and that group, along with all the others, had some great suggestions as to how we could do things within the school to help alleviate student stress. Things as simple as giving students more notice when assignments and tests are due, mapping out tests and assignments for a longer duration than we currently do. Those things allow students to have more control over their lives and plan accordingly. So that's a simple strategy, and there are some other ones that are going to be more complicated. We also, with the release of an information bulletin from the Department of Education, Commissioner of Education to be exact, the alternative structured learning time pilot is not going to be allowed. They decided to grandfather it this year. As a leadership team and as a school committee, we felt that the whole premise of a pilot is to take a look at an activity or a program with the intent of possibly bringing it into our school district and schools full time. with the inability to move forward, there's really no sense in doing a pilot because we don't have that opportunity to decide whether we want to implement it or not. So it's something that we were blindsided with. Certainly didn't expect it. I know as a superintendent I certainly didn't have a heads up, and I know the principals certainly weren't aware of it. But better to find out before the year started rather than find out in November that they were going to do this. This gives me an opportunity, though, to thank our staff for all the hard work that they've done during that first year of the pilot program. It did take a lot of work. We had some great assignments for that day, and I'm hoping and confident, I'm going to use the word confident and hoping together, that this material that they created will be integrated into their classrooms throughout the year. And that pretty well summarizes what we did during that evening. Any other additions or comments?
Anyone else have any thoughts on the retreat?
No, I think, excuse me, excellent summary. You know, I enjoy the opportunity for us to get together every once in a while, you know, to have some just general discussions about educational objectives, you know, outside of the formal, let's talk about how many students enrolled this year format that, you know, a lot of these meetings are, you know, typically driven to. And I found the conversations interesting and also the varying perspectives useful.
Okay. Moving back to new business, the second order of business under new business is our September enrollment. So, nice segue, Daryl.
It's perfect.
Dr. Clench, you would like to give us an update
Sure.
on our enrollment?
Well, I enclosed two handouts or components of the package here this evening. The first one is our September 4th, 2019 enrollment. I know you remember this, but our official enrollment that goes into the state is based on our October 1st enrollment. So we always like to know where we stand as quickly as possible, though. And as you can see, if you scroll down to the bottom, we have 1,669 students, really, plus the 33 out-of-district students that we have. So that brings us to a little over 1,700 students. We've always separated the out-of-district students up because they're really not in our classrooms. They're in other schools throughout this part of the state. So if you compare that to, actually I should go back and look at the grade 6. As we predicted, grade 6 class did go up more than we thought, and we're looking at 143 students at this point in time, which certainly supports the addition of that grade 6 specialist or generalist, more correctly, for this year. If you look at the next sheet, this is last year's September enrollment. Our total enrollment was 1,658, so we're up around 11 students, and we had 34 out-of-district students at that time. Questions? Comments?
No, the one thing that I noticed was the school choice numbers. So there are
okay.
20 that we projected that we didn't fill.
Right. But having you say that, though, we had 77 last year and we're at 79 this year, so it guarantees that revenue flow that we're dependent on.
Okay.
So that's helpful. We had more seats open up in the high school this year, and the chances of having those seats filled is not as great as in the younger grades, because when you're in high school, unless there's a real good reason for it, you really don't want to go to another school. So we knew that was going to be the case. I'm actually really happy that we came in 2 over what we had last year. I didn't think we were going to be able to do that.
And it looks like a lot of the move-ins over the summer seem to be hitting us at the middle school, because I noticed the number of students went up, and it looks like they mostly hit at the middle school level. In addition to that big class moving, it looked like 5 to 9 of the move-ins were at that grade level too.
Which is really, we wouldn't have predicted that. But it just goes to show you, you never know, the age of children when they move into a community, and it just happened this year was middle school.
Just out of curiosity, how has the 6th grade generalist teacher been received from families? Are they, is there any concern that their kids aren't switching classes, or is it generally well received?
Well, I have not heard anything negative, and maybe I'll ask Jason, since Jason's in the school every day. Sure.
Okay. We constructed the schedule so the kids do switch classes, rather than, it came down to, I gotta be honest, I thought I had all the scheduling done for the summer when I went on vacation, and was really excited to go on vacation to come back and find that the numbers were a lot larger, and so ended up having to reschedule the entire 6th grade a week before school started. Was not the way that I wanted in the summer. But it came down to two choices. We could create a smaller cluster of 25 students, or I could try and figure out a way to integrate this one teacher into the regular team. The problem with the first option was, how do you choose 25 students to be separated? There was just no way to do it equitably, and so I wasn't even going to try. And so I had a bit of an epiphany early one morning, and it seemed to work out, where if I was able to peel off a little bit from each, the kids would essentially have, of the 5 teachers on the 6th grade team, they would be guaranteed to have 4 of them, and then they would also have this new generalist. So in reality, the experience is very different. They'll have all the other teachers, except they may have a different teacher for English. And then another student will have all the teachers, except that one may have a different teacher for math. So it's actually spread around. It dropped the class sizes from 30 down to 24, which our teachers were very, very thankful, because they had heard rumors that we were going to have large classes. I will tell you, we did a really good job hiring this summer. And we have somebody in that role who has been very well received by the team. They love him. They can't wait to help him, and the kids have really been drawn to him. The parents were thrilled at back to school night. So it's been, we did our diligence, and it's worked out really, really well.
Great.
As I mentioned during the summer retreat, this new grade 6 teacher will have access and support from the specialists in subject area as well, so we'll have continuity from class to class. Thank you, Jason.
Next order of business is our MOU with the Littleton Police Department regarding the School Resource Officer Program.
Thank you. What I've done here is I tried to take the best of both documents, the document put out by the Attorney General's office and the document put out by the Massachusetts School Committee Association. When I was blending them, the intent was to make it both readable and understandable and get rid of the extraneous information. So I feel I accomplished that. This is a draft, as noted on the document, and Chief Bernard has sent it to the Attorney General's office to look over as well. So I'm waiting to get it back to see if they recommend any changes. But it, I think, is much more user-friendly than the original document we had last year. Daryl had made a recommendation on page 3. You can scroll to page 3, Steve. And under section B, compliance with FERPA and other confidentiality requirements, the first paragraph, it starts with at all times, school officials must comply with FERPA. And then the last paragraph talks about their special circumstances in which the SRO can gain access. Daryl made a suggestion that we combine those 2 paragraphs, and I just didn't get a chance to reword it. And I really didn't want to reword it. I wanted to present it as is, as a draft, in case there was other changes I would incorporate them all at once. But I like Daryl's suggestion to combine those 2 paragraphs, change the wording a little bit to simplify it a little more, and make the document a little shorter. Not much, but a little shorter.
Yeah, I was trying to eliminate the sort of the double negative of you won't do it except for.
Right, right. It was a good catch.
These things here.
Now, if you remember the first document, it certainly I felt was excessive with spelling out the various MGLs. And as we've talked many times around this table, if there are general laws that administrators, teachers, and police need to follow, they should know those laws. We shouldn't have to be spelling them out for them all the time in an agreement. So I took as many as I could out of there. I didn't want to take them all, though, but I left some pertinent ones in. Comments?
I have a couple things. So just from the one from the
MASC?
Yes, thank you. There was a mission or goal section, which I think, you know, I don't know that it necessarily needs to be as lengthy, but I do think that we should probably have something in there about why we want to do this. What is our purpose in having an SRO, and you know, what do we want to accomplish educationally for our students by having one? Under the section that's what you should consider for when choosing an SRO, the big thing I saw between what we have and what they have is they have a lot of words like proven and demonstrated. You know, ours are, you know, very much like the ability to work effectively to students, or awareness of things, or a commitment to, but theirs are proven experience working with, demonstrated ability to, which just, to me, is a little stronger, that you know, it can't just be someone who says that they can work with students. It has to be someone who has shown that they have the ability to do that.
We did add those in at the bottom of page 1.
Right, but so it's, I guess what I'm saying is it's the difference between ability to work effectively with students and the demonstrated ability to work. You know, that someone, to me, it's more they have proven they can do this. It's not just someone writing on their resume that, oh yeah, I can work well with kids, or it's that they have proven themselves in that area somehow.
Stronger language.
Yeah, it is, and it's not, I mean, even if I add those with that addition, it's not a prerequisite, it's a suggestion. I mean, we can't expect every police officer to have educational experience in a school setting. What we're trying to do is find somebody that can work well with students, and there's usually something that we see or see firsthand that helps that. But I mean, I don't have a problem with adding the word demonstrated ability. It's a good change. But just know that that's not going to be a written in stone quality. It depends on the candidates we have. We have to always remember we're not hiring you for these positions. We're reassigning somebody from the police department.
Do you have who does the selection of the SRO? I thought I saw that in here someplace.
That's
a
joint.
combination of-
Before it was, the other document was the police chief. I mean, the police chief has always consulted with the superintendent and the high school principal all along, even though it wasn't written in, so, but we did write it in. So Erica, just so I'm clear, it was just the demonstrated ability, or did I miss something?
No, I mean, there were several of it. All of their factors were written in with that kind of language, like proven experience working with effectively with you, you know.
Could you send me an email
Yeah.
with those suggestions? That might be much easier to
Okay.
take a look at.
So I think if we were doing kind of a blind selection, in terms of this is who was going to be sent over. I might think I need that more forceful language, but the way I'm reading it here, it's more of a collaborative interview process for the selection of the officer, rather than whatever officer shows up that somebody is chosen for. So I was comfortable with this is more of a style of what I'd expect to be covered during what I call the interview process for the selection type of thing there, which gives hits the highlights of what we're looking for, but allows the flexibility of experience depending on you know, what the specific background of the officer coming in is. So
Right, and I think that as Dr. Schcmte said, that, you know, this is all stuff that we would like to see. We can't, you know, we can't say you have to have all of this. So I think, you know, strengthening the language of what we would like a candidate to have, I don't.
Well, let me play with it. Send me
Okay.
the email, and then I'll bring it back next meeting again, and we can hammer it a little more. I'm not sure if, I have to find this out, I don't know what Chief Bernard's thinking is on this, but if he wants to send every change we make, it's going to take a while for this thing to get finalized. The good thing is the old document is in effect until we nullify it, but just so you're aware of that, I just have a feeling that it's going to go back to the AG's office and get back to us, so.
Maybe a process.
Yes.
Just a couple other things. Page 6, under roles and responsibilities. I just didn't like, I guess it's technically the third paragraph, and I didn't know if, I mean, I think the gist of it in terms of
Under state law.
we want, no, as past
As
events.
Okay.
You know, the gist of it is that we want to work together to make sure we can focus on learning and not, you know, any other behavior. It seems very negative to me, you know, as past events have shown, any school is at risk for incidents of violence, threatened violence. I just wonder if we could take some of that out and just say that, you know, and put it in more of the positive. Our goal is to work in collaboration, you know, to make sure that the school community.
I can work on that. I want to make sure that I don't soften it up too much, because I mean, you have to remember that there's a police perspective of this whole thing, and really they're there to assist us, but they're also there to be a policeman when they are like a policeman when they need to be. I mean, the whole premise of having an SRO is, you know, obviously you get to know our kids and develop relationships, but they're also there to be a policeman when they need to be. They're not involved in school discipline. It's not their purview. So there are more than two functions, but if I want to summarize it in two basic functions, it's developing relationships that are going to pay benefits in the community with students and as they grow into adults, and then the other one is to be a policeman when they need to be. So I know what you're saying. I can try to soften it, but the reality of the situation is that they are in uniform at times, not all the time, but they certainly have their badge, and they're there to represent the police department as well. So I don't want to lopside it too much to one side. I'm trying to create a balance between what policemen would expect and what we would expect as school officials, elected officials. So.
And I agree. And I think you can still have, you know, that last sentence, you know, maybe, you know, some of these risks.
I have a suggestion on that.
Okay.
I think if you look at the previous paragraph where you have the parties acknowledge, I think maybe you started off with through collaborative efforts of the police department, police district and police departments, the risk of can be reduced and managed, so that the school can focus on I think if you just flip that to the first part, it becomes more similar to the first paragraph, and just sort of stating what your objective is, which is to have the police focus on the police aspects, that you can focus on the learning aspects, recognizing those risks that the police are there for. I think that because I think you like the previous paragraph,
Yeah.
so I think we're wording this one very similar, in a similar style to that,
Right.
can get you there.
That's a good suggestion.
Nice job, Carol.
Yeah, good job, Joe.
And then my last thing was more of a question. They have a section accompanying standard operating procedures. And there's certain parts of that that are in bold, and it was my understanding when I originally read this document that anything that was in bold was required language to be.
I took that out because I changed the headings. So my bold just simply means topics?
No, but so this is the one from.
Oh, that's the original one?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And I thought anything that was in bold in their document was something that was required by law to be in our.
No, that's what the AG wanted.
Okay.
So, the only reason I say that is I've seen other documents that have taken those headings out. So we'll certainly find out when we get the document back. But really, with the head, my interpretation when I read that first document is that the headings didn't flow very well. And there's nothing that is a law or statute that says those have to be the topics of organization of a document. I know
So-
they put that statement in there, but that was just what they wanted to do.
So at the top of this one, it says, "The provisions of this agreement," in bold typeface, "are specifically required by law under GLC 71, Section 37P."
And what the proper wording should be is that there should be content of those items, it doesn't have to be a heading. But again,
Oh.
let's see what the AG says.
Well, right, okay, so it doesn't have to, maybe it doesn't have to be the heading, but do we have these things? I didn't see some of these things in there.
Well, I did take some of them out,
Okay.
but they're not specified in statute, none that I could find, so. And I've seen other documents signed by school districts that didn't have those in, so assuming that they were looked at quite closely as well. So my suggestion is let's just wait and see what they say. If they feel that really needs to be in there, I guess we'll go back to the drawing board and organize the document that way.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did have one other thing. So there was a section as well, if there was any complaint, how that process would go about. Was that in here? Like who, if someone was uncomfortable with how a situation was handled,
With the
who
police
would,
department.
yeah,
With
with the
resource
SRO,
officer.
who would they go to?
That would be the police chief. I mean, he's a policeman hired by the police department, so his direct supervisor would be the police chief.
Any more discussion? Okay, next order of business is school startup. We're now in our third week of the 2019-2020 school year.
Yeah, I've already talked about how pleased we were with the startup. It's always amazing to me how you can have a break for 2 months, and within a couple of days, students and staff are back into positive routines where kids are excited to be in the classrooms and they're learning, and because it is quite a change from the pace that a lot of us have during the summertime. Teachers are re-energizing, and kids are off with their families and attending summer camps, etc. So to get back into that structure so quickly and not have any indication that it's hard on students and staff, always adjust very quickly. I can tell you that if you're a teacher, understand this. By the end of that first week, they were tired, though, to get back into that regimented pace during the days. So, very pleased. Any comments from the principals in terms of startup?
Just would echo the same sentiments. Very excited to have everybody back in the building. It's sort of it's a little bit lonely in the summer when we're cleaning up the custodians. I want to also, again, the superintendent recognize the custodians and the fantastic job they did throughout the district, but in particular working closely at the high school with the custodians. Once again, just so much work happens behind the scenes to make things be ready on time and look sparkling, and they did a great job. But I also want to compliment the students on a very smooth opening. We had very productive opening meetings with the students. Everything is sort of just resumed as we would expect. We resumed our routines. And I'd also add that there seems to be an added positive spirit among the staff and students this year. We're really trying to emphasize at the high school, making positive, meaningful connections. Just exhibited today and on previous Thursdays, but Positive Sign Thursday. You might see that on the Twitter feed throughout the coming weeks ahead if you missed it over the past weeks. But I want to compliment the staff who have been behind that initiative. I do expect there's a tremendous emphasis this year on social emotional learning and different concrete activities we can do at the high school, and a lot of them are underway right now in the classrooms. I've been walking around, and Jason shared that he had an opportunity to get into all the rooms already and see similar things happening at middle school. With that note, I'll turn it over to you.
We've had a great start to the year. It's been high energy, high positivity. The kids have been amazing. We had a student DJ out in front of the school when the buses arrived, playing music. We had teachers high-fiving kids as they came in. We adopted a slogan, "Stronger Together," in our middle school, and have a nice big banner hanging in the lobby. So to really just kind of set the tone that, we want to create sort of a community family feel here, and that we're all in this together, and the staff have really bought in, and it's so many of them have commented about what a great start to the year this has been. In fact, for some of them have said the best start of their career. I want to congratulate Beth Steele on that as well, starting with our initial teacher meetings coming back. Just the energy and the movement and the engagement that was created within the staff trainings before the year even started spilled over into the first day of school. So sort of a multi-pronged approach has really led to a really fantastic start to the year, and we're all good at the middle school. It's been fun.
And the happiness trickles on down to Shaker Lane. We hope to send this happiness up your way one day. We've had a great start to the year. Again, from the opening day with Dr. Clenchey and Beth Steele, we had our own opening day positive activity with our staff, where we got together as groups and we came up with common themes that we have within the group, and then we shared amongst the entire staff. So we started off with really connecting with one another, and then our kids came in, and then the preschoolers came in. So this week has been a good solid week for us. We've had all of the students. We look forward to our first community meeting next week, spreading positivity. We have some really exciting things coming up for the first Fridays of every month for our kids and our staff. And we're looking forward to a great year as well.
And you tweaked my memory. I could have twittered my memory since it's been all over Twitter. We created a token of excellence, and it's when we came up with this idea, we're going to create our own coin. It's not counterfeit; it's our own coin. And then we thought it was going to be too small. We're going to get lost. So the whole intent of this program is to, at the beginning of the year, central office staff gave a token to a staff member in each of the 4 schools, and every 2 weeks that token has to be given to somebody else that has done something special. A variety of things made a difference in a student's life or teacher's life. Group of students did something special in terms of programming. We wanted to make it broad enough, and it was really well received. But in the end, we didn't even create a medallion. It was too small. So we ended up creating something that's about this big, weighs about 5 or 6 pounds. We're not going to lose it. and nice and shiny. And they're very proud. The first recipients were very proud, and we've already started exchanging it to the next group, and they're snapping pictures and putting them on Twitter. So it's accomplishing what we wanted it to accomplish. So it was a great idea, and it's always nice when we come up with these ideas and they're so well received. It will be touching many hands during the year. So this
I know Ms. Temple's not here tonight to give an update on Russell Street, but my daughter, who's a 5th grader, has been totally stoked how great it is there, and very excited about the new mascot stripes and the Earning Your Stripes award. And she said it looks totally different. I'm not sure how different it does look, but to her it does.
Cheryl went in and did a lot of paint. She did some painting by herself.
She did?
With her daughter. So she deserves a lot of credit for the hard work she did over the summer to make that happen. We're certain stories are throughout the district, the remarkable work that Cheryl has done at Russell Street. I'm obviously really well connected, having worked with her for 5 years, and very proud and excited to share in the work she's done already in a short time as the leader of Russell Street.
So sounds very positive there too. All right. The last order of business.
Matt, before you move up into business, could I just?
Yep. I'm sorry.
Kelly, I would like to see if we could have a discussion at one of our future meetings on vaping and what the district is, how it's trying to address the issues there. I was going to try to make the wellness meeting last week to just also talk to the wellness committee about it, but I didn't get a chance to make that one there. But the other part I jotted in my piece here is I also realized that as our youth are vaping, the nicotine addiction will kick in right away with that. So we may also have to be thinking about what kind of support we can provide as we try to encourage and maybe aggressively enforce the clamp down on vaping in the schools there. Yes. But if we could maybe have a more general discussion at the next meeting, I would appreciate that.
Last item on the new business is our summary of the school committee presentations for the 2019-2020 school year.
And these are not all of the presentations, so please don't hold us to that. But we wanted to get a general outline of what we do from year to year and what we feel is important. It also gives you an opportunity as a school committee to think of other presentations that you may want throughout the year. And this isn't your only chance, obviously. Something comes up that you would like to learn more about, just certainly talk to me, and we'll try to fit it in. Or we will fit it in another meeting. So it's kind of nice to have a glimpse of what we do during the year, but I would have scared you if I would have put everything down, so I didn't want to do that.
Any comments on that? Possible agenda?
No, we're good.
All right, this brings us to our second opportunity of the meeting for interested citizens. Is anybody in the audience who, do you have your hand up there?
Anyone in the
Nope.
audience?
Okay.
Oh.
How about?
Oh, no.
Oh, Kristen.
Okay.
Just Temple.
So, that brings us to subcommittee reports.
Let's see, PMBC work is underway on the various projects around town. I believe the curbing project at the high school is complete, and it looked like the last report I got, the lift is scheduled for early October.
The lift, they start actual construction of the actual lift on Monday. Demolition of the old one has taken place, so that the old one is gone. The openings have been enlarged. They started the electrical work and some of the other mechanical work as well. The actual lift starts assembly on Monday the 23rd. Should, we think, take about a week or so, and then once it's done, then we can apply for the state inspector to come and inspect it, and that can take up to 30 days. So we're hoping toward mid-October that it's up and running and hopefully certified by the state, but we have to wait on the state on that. So.
Okay. And then you'll probably also come up under financials, but Super Saturday is December 14th for the initial budget request. We would probably also, I think, are going to be expected to have kind of our capital projections and other pieces there.
Yep, working on those.
For it. So I think that's all that I had.
What was the date for that? December what?
14th, the Saturday.
Budget Subcommittee, just getting underway with that. Recently had a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen and FinCom to kind of lay out some parameters for the year. But we'll be meeting more and get going on that rather quickly. Anything for policy? No,
That's
sorry.
me.
There was a hand up.
And no, not yet. I actually need to meet with Jen to go over all that stuff first. I did have a question on the budget and how they're going to this zero,
Right.
base zero budgeting or
Zero-based budgeting.
Zero-based
That's the idea.
budgeting.
Zero-based budget.
Yeah.
So have you gotten a memo about how that's all gonna work exactly yet, or?
Well,
Pass it to Kelly.
yeah, first of all, the town can do zero-based budgeting. It's up to the school committee to decide what they want to do. We do a form of zero-based budgeting. It's been around for 20 years, for goodness sakes. It's nothing new. The whole premise of zero-based budgeting is that you look at every account line you have and you justify it, which we do. I mean, we've turned over the same rocks in our budget for many, many years, looking for efficiencies, so we have been doing zero-based budgeting without even calling it that. But as a school committee, you have your own separate statutes, and you make the decisions as to how you want to present a budget. In fact, if we want to be statute specific, and I wouldn't ever suggest this, but you could just give them a number. Let's say you have that legal right, but that certainly wouldn't be transparent. And my recommendation is you wouldn't do that. You would give them information that they need to understand it.
No, my only concern, and not real concern, but I was wondering how accurate she was being. Is she gave the example of, you may say you need X number of pens, and I say, oh, no, you really only need Y number of pens, and and that's how the budget's going to go. And I just don't want to get into a situation where we're wasting teacher time, wasting administrator time, nickel and diming over things.
So the way I've done the budgeting in my previous jobs, and I always use the police tires as my example. Not that I'm not saying we shouldn't buy tires for the police cars, but if you have a budget line item of $5,000 and you buy the tires for $4,500, zero-based budgeting says next year maybe I plan for $4,500 and not just roll $5,000 and then
Right.
use that $500 for some other purpose.
Yeah.
Type of thing there, and I think once you start adopting that as your budgeting philosophy, it starts ringing out the efficiencies that I think we've already been forced into many times here, because I don't think I know the administration has never just presented, we're asking for 10% more
Right.
because we need it.
Right. It's always been based on
It's been
something
based on
we need.
something that we need,
Right.
as well as some backup as to how we got to that number, which I
Yeah.
think that's really, to me, the intent and back of the zero-based budgeting in terms of how you do this mechanics of it. I'm very comfortable, and I think we've never been presented just here's a number, it's 10% more, that's what we need. And I'll let them know I'd never accept that from our administration as a justification for a budget either.
Right.
Because
No,
we can't
and I was
justify
more
it to the
concerned
town.
about it
Exactly.
going the other way
Right.
and putting too much of a strain on
Yep.
our staff and, expecting them to justify it, everything they ask for. And we all know teachers pay for things on their own, and,
No.
they probably ask for much less than they actually do need, so I don't,
I'm glad you brought that up, because there are a number of things. The first thing that comes to my mind, when we've budgeted with the town, we've never ever been able to talk about the rising costs of contracts, not union contracts, but contracts with providers, service equipment, et cetera. The rising cost of consumables, that's never ever been talked about or considered in our budgets, and it's my 10th budget. In 10 years, costs have risen. I mean, you can't tell me they haven't. They have. So perhaps some of these discussions are going to identify some of the weaknesses that were evident in the budgeting process. I also had the opportunity to meet with the Vice Chairman of FinCom, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and the Town Administrator, and the Director of Finance, Steve, and Chairman Fontanellas, and myself, and we had a long talk about budgeting. And there's always a desire to become more efficient. And as somebody that's worked with this town for a number of years, I honestly can't think of a time or a department that hasn't been efficient. We have all done our best to provide excellent services to this community with minimal increases in costs. We've held the line. This community, or more correctly, the town wouldn't have a AAA bond rating unless we did that, and everybody deserves credit for that. But what I see is problematic, and I just bring my own experience to the table. If you encourage your leaders, and we don't do this in the school department, just so you know, I can clarify that later if you'd like, but when you budget a certain way, you have X number of dollars, and any efficiencies you find during the year, and it could be as simple as changing vendors and getting a better price on something. If you don't use that money, it goes back to the town. And in our case, it would go back to the town if it was in our operating budget. What I did a number of years ago in a large district is we decided to empower our leaders in our schools to find efficiencies, but they could keep that money and roll it over into the next year. And as long as they had a business plan as to how that money was going to be spent, if it was within our parameters, we would approve it. And they could budget for many different things. It could be a school improvement such as a new gym floor over time. So we even went into capital purchases. Specialized trips for students where they would go out for 4 days. I mean, there are some real cool trips out there where you can take your students on a sailboat for 4 or 5 days, and there's a curriculum, and they stay on the boat, and those trips are expensive, but there's something that students will remember for a lifetime. Some of the things we did, we used to go to the Rocky Mountains and ski for a week, and we would hold classes at night for our kids. And so you can be really creative, but those things are very hard to attain if you're always functioning on a budget process where you need to spend it or you're going to lose it. I think it's a far better philosophy to, again, empower leaders to try to find ways to be not only innovative, but to save money, and then they're rewarded for doing that. And it's a whole different philosophy, and it's probably sounds strange to some people if they're listening to our meeting tonight, but I have to tell you, out of all the strategies I tried in terms of finance, that was the most effective to move the district forward in being able to save money for a good cause. And sometimes it may be if we run into a situation where it was hard to secure enough funds, we could always tap that money for that particular school to support things that we couldn't otherwise support if we had to make cuts. So it allows you to always be ahead of the game. What I noticed in that district, when I first came there, we were always borrowing money. So it was a regional district, so we had a line of credit, millions of dollars of line of credit. And as we implemented this process, we became less reliant on the line of credit because we had cash in the bank. And it's no different than your own financial plan at home. You feel a lot better if you have cash in the bank than if you're borrowing and spending on your credit cards. It's the same philosophy, but yet it's applied to a much larger scale. So I'm hoping they think about that a bit and see if that's something that they would like to entertain moving forward. I really think it would work. I have no doubts.
Yeah, it's definitely a different way of looking at things, so see how it goes. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion made in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That concludes our first meeting.